Сайн байцгаана уу хүн үзэгчтэй. Өнөөдөр манай de facto нэвтрүүлгийн зочноор Австралийн UNSW их сургууль байдаг юм байна. Энэ Kirby Institute гэж байна. Тэр дотор Бэлгийн эрүүл мэндийн төсөл. За энэ ахлагч профессор Basil Donovan оролцож байна.
Basil Donovan хүний хэмж ангаа ухааны доктор, профессор. Профессор Donovan Сидней хотын шинэ өмнөд Уэльс мужийн их сургуулийн Kirby Institute-ийн Бэлгийн эрүүл мэндийн хөтөлбөрийн захирал, Сидней хотын эмнэлгийн Бэлгийн эрүүл мэндийн төвийн зөвлөх хэмжээр тус ажиллаж байсан. Тэрээр Австрали, Аз төвд Бэлгийн эрүүл мэндийн ангаа ухааныг хөгжүүлэхэд чухал үүрэг гүйцэтгсэн. 1987-аас 1990 онуудад багш, 2013-аас 2015 онуудад Бэлгийн замаар дамжих халдварын судалгааны олон улсын нийгэмлэгийн захирлын зөвлөлийн гишүүнээр сонгогдсон ажиллаж байсан. Профессор Donovan herpes дархлалын олмол хомсдлын халдвар, гепатитын вакцины чиглэлийн олон тооны клиник туршилт, судалгааны үндсэн судлаачаар ажилласан. Сүүлийн жилүүдэд цаг хүдэн өвчний эмчилгээний солитромицийн шинэ нэмийн судалгаа, Бэлгийн замаар дамжих халдварын оншилгоо, эмчилгээний алдаа, нутгийн уугуул иргэдийн дунд төрөвчлсөн онцлогоорыг ашиглах зэрэг судалгааны үндсэн судлаачаар ажиллаж байсан.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Welcome to Mongolia.
Thank you.
Is it your third trip, right?
It's my third trip, yes. Yeah.
And what brought you?
The same thing each time. This has been the best trip because the last two trips were just gradually trying to persuade the Mongolian Health Department to vaccinate Mongolian girls against the human papillomavirus, or HPV, and we've been presenting evidence on how successful it's been in Australia. And fortunately this trip, it looks like your health department has made the decision and it's planning to roll out a vaccination program probably next year, 2019.
Okay, let's talk about, in general, about this cancer. What is the origin of the cancer? Why almost all nations, people have taken this cancer somehow? What is the origin? What is behind the reason?
Well, the whole human race is affected by human papillomaviruses. There's at least 150 different viruses. About 40 of them specialise in the genital tract, or the cervix.
40% of them?
Yeah, about 40 different types. Other 8 types of HPV give you warts on the fingers and feet and so on. They're just a different virus, but from the same family.
So that virus, where does it come from?
Oh, it's probably transmitted sexually or just intimate contact of any sort. We think that virtually all of us catch all of the genital HPV types at some stage in our life. And it doesn't do anything, mostly it doesn't do anything to us. But there's 1 or 2% of people who catch the virus and it doesn't go away. And there's a couple of types, they actually have their own numbers, type 16, type 18, type 45. They, if you catch those and they stay, then you're at greatly increased risk of cancer. If you never catch them, you don't get cancer. So it's necessary to be infected to get the cancer.
We don't know the origin of these viruses.
No, the viruses, every animal on Earth has its own HPV types. So elephants, eels, jellyfish, they all get HPV somehow. Okay. They've been around for much longer than humans have been around.
Even longer than human beings, okay.
Probably hundreds of millions of years, yes.
Okay.
They were waiting for it to come along.
And unfortunately, that caused a lot tragedies in history, and now still keep calling for many families that tragedy, right? So what is, how you have been fighting with that? Your country, Australia, is one of the few countries which completely almost fought against it completely. Tell us about that, how it happened like this.
Well, Australia takes two approaches. for the last almost 30 years, we've had a very organised screening program. So you can do what's called a pap smear, which is a scraping from the cervix. And you can see if there's any changes in the cells that looks like this person is going to develop cancer at some stage in the future. And if you find that, then you can treat them before they get cancer. But more recently, and beginning about 2007, a vaccine became available. It was invented in Brisbane, in Australia, by Professor Ian Fraser, and it actually protects against. The original one protected against 4 types of HPV. The new one we're starting this year protects against 9 types of HPV.
Okay, the same vaccine.
It's just the same vaccine, but
keep
getting broader.
Keep proving that it can also fight other types and more types, right?
Yeah, just covering more and more types.
You said that screening of, do you screen all your people?
We try and screen every woman, yes.
How many of them, that means?
Well, we think up till now we've been doing an old-fashioned test called the pap smear, and every woman's supposed to get a pap smear every 2 years. And the coverage has been about 70% of women comply with that. It's not great, but it's pretty good.
Well, very good, 70%. So you first screen all of them, 70% of women in Australia. Then 2007 vaccine that is created in Brisbane by an Australian professor. How he had created? Why in Australia? Obviously all around the world they find some ways to fight.
Yeah, he was just analysing, doing basic science. He wasn't trying to invent a vaccine. He was just playing with one of the proteins produced by the virus. Not live virus, just some protein. And he looked at it under the microscope, and it had assembled itself into a little ball that looks just like the virus. And he went, whoa. To look at. One of his co-workers was looking at it and said, why are you making virus? And he said, I'm not. All I've done is extract some protein. It's turning itself into a virus. And because it looks so much like the virus, your immune system is very alert to it. It's probably the most potent vaccine and close to the safest vaccine ever invented.
Wow, so immune system is fighting that proteins. So then he discovered that protein, which itself turns itself into the viruses. Is it real viruses or like viruses?
Virus-like.
Virus-like. So that virus-like thing can fight that virus we talk about.
Yeah, what it does is if you get vaccinated, your immune system gets alerted so that if anything like that virus comes along, it's there waiting at the doorway, ready for a knockout punch.
And they do.
And they do extremely effectively, 100% effective.
And okay, then they found which 2007. So
yes.
Since that, what happened?
Well, in Australia we rolled out a national vaccination program to all schoolgirls and originally young women up to the age of 26. And we've achieved about an 80% population coverage in young girls. And in 2013, we added boys to the vaccination program as well, and they're getting close to the same vaccination coverage.
Okay, so well, in Mongolia we tend to think this is coming to women. Huh? This virus usually found, but they found out this one is not only women. Every man, you said. Every human. Eh?
Men get HPV cancers. They get cancer of the throat. They can get cancer of their bottoms and cancer of the penis. And they're the same viruses.
Same viruses. So Australia is vaccinating the boys as well from 2013. So what is the result today? How often you face this concern?
Oh, what we're noticing is that the prevalence of HPV in both originally women but now men is rocketing down to, approaching elimination, which is really a wonderful thing to see.
Wow, elimination. And there is some kind of viruses viruses or people come here, small things usually, and then disappear. Is it very similar?
Cold sores. Yeah,
Yes.
that's herpes simplex.
Is it the same version or it is another one?
No, herpes simplex is a different virus. It survives by living inside nerve cells because it knows your immune system will not attack your nervous system. So that's how it hides out. HPV hides out by being outside your outer layer of skin. So the immune system normally doesn't get to see it.
Oh, I see. Because it's relatively outside.
It's very superficial.
So tell us, it is not a matter of only Australia, I understand, North America, other countries, which countries and how they are adopting the system you have.
Yeah, well, virtually all of North America, Central America and South America are now vaccinating. Western Europe, Australia and New Zealand, but very patchy around Asia. We're rather disappointed in that. Japan has a national program, but it's been stop and start.
Why would Japan stop it? I understand Mongolia, but...
Well, there's a problem with any vaccine, is that there's these anti-vaccine rumour mongers, people who make up stories about the vaccine. And in the case of Japan, they made up the story that it caused a strange neurological nerve pain syndrome, which is proven to be completely false. The same happened here in Mongolia when they started to roll out the vaccine.
Which year?
2012. Someone started the rumour that it causes infertility. There's no logic to that, but it scared people, and so the government stopped the program. But fortunately this research has just been published this week showing that of those girls who got the vaccine in 2012, they're having babies just as often, if not more often, than the unvaccinated girls.
Unvaccinated girls.
So it's a complete...
So it is normal, or in Asia, for example, that this sort of rumors come out in every country and they're
Everywhere.
reluctant.
We get them in Australia too.
But overall, now Australians have accepted it.
Yeah, they have now, but it was rocky for the first few years. And, you know, it's important. There will be noise, there'll be press, you know, someone got sick the day after they had the vaccine. It'll take a long time to prove that they were going to get sick anyway.
Basil, can we talk about this International Society for STD Research, where you were president in between 2013 and 2015 on the board? Please tell us about the organizations. What do you do there?
Oh, it's the global lead organisation that fosters research into the area of sexually transmitted infections. It's based out of Holland, and we run probably the leading international conference every 2 years. Okay.
You have been dealing with the sexual health program for almost 30 years, right? Many years, and this is, of course, sexually transmitted disease is something that every country wants to rid of.
Yes.
And it's not that easy. No. And overall, how all things go on in general in the world, in general, and then in Australia.
In the area of sexually transmitted diseases?
Are we winning or losing? Or?
Well, against HPV we're winning because we have a vaccine.
Okay.
Against some other infections we're not doing so good.
Okay. What happened with the HIV?
HIV is under a fair degree of control. Mature countries like Australia and Mongolia, in most places in the world now, treatment is provided free of charge, and the treatment stops the infection.
Oh, we found the treatment that stops already?
Yeah, it doesn't cure it. So you have to keep taking tablets.
It just stops.
But it means if your virus has stopped and become undetectable, you can't infect other people.
I see. Now we have stopped. All around the world we have that
Yes,
treatment.
yeah, there's tens of millions of people on treatment now around the world.
So it is not spreading out.
It's slow. It's still spreading in some parts of the world, but it's slowing down where there are good treatment programs.
Okay. What is the efficient way of kind of either stopping or decreasing STD in a country, in any nation? What is the most efficient way?
The most efficient by far is a vaccine. And we encourage people, if they're having sex outside their usual relationship, to use condoms. They can go and get screened for infections, and we encourage that, particularly for HIV and syphilis, gonorrhea. And if someone's diagnosed, we try and get their sexual partners in and get them tested and treated. But it's hard work. It would be better if people just didn't get infected in the first place.
Understand. But however, this is kind of existing in countries. Some countries more, some countries less. Have you seen any statistics in Mongolia?
Well, in Mongolia, the sad thing is Mongolia has the highest rate of cancer of the cervix of all of Eastern Asia. It's more than twice the level of all the neighbouring countries. Wow. So Mongolia has a particular need for the vaccination program and for enhanced screening. Mongolia has some of the problems that Australia has, which is it's a very large country, but outside the cities the population is very sparse. So they have poor access to health services, as in remote Australia. So they don't get things like pap smears as readily. So they're at high risk of developing cancer. And if they do get cancer, they'll probably die from it.
The HPV cancer?
Yep.
How many deaths we have?
In Mongolia, it's in the order of hundreds each year. It's not huge, but it adds up because it's year in, year out. The sad thing about a cervical cancer death is that typically the woman is in her late 40s or 50s, so she's still the mother of the household. She still has children at home.
Yes.
So her death leaves the family without its core.
Yes. Well, a woman who has... Is it the case where people don't know even they have this cancer?
Usually has no symptoms.
No symptoms. They may discover it very late, too late.
Yes, that's what usually happens.
So that means we need to screen to prevent that.
Yeah, well, I know Mongolia are looking at it. There's a new screening technology where the woman doesn't have to go to a doctor and, get up on the couch and have her cervix scraped, where she may just be able to do a self-collected vaginal swab and just hand it in. So that'll make screening so much easier.
She can do it herself or with the help of doctor?
She can do it herself.
And it can just test like litmus paper or?
It's just a swab, and you put it back in the tube and it goes off to the laboratory.
Oh, I see. So then maybe it's easier to oblige everybody to do so?
Yes, yeah, I think in Australia we've replaced the old pap smear, which is the looking down a microscope, with this new test. It's just a test for HPV infection.
Oh, I see.
Because we know if that's negative, you can't have cancer. Infection is an essential thing to have before you can actually get cancer. So most women will test negative on any one day.
This new screening technology, how old is this?
Oh, it's only the last few years that it's been fully evaluated.
Does Mongolia have it?
It's investigating it at the moment.
To buy?
Yeah, down the track it'll...
Is it an expensive thing?
No, not really. Not if you're doing in large numbers.
So maybe it's even easier for us to do...
In the long run, it'll actually be cheaper than pap smears. You still need pap smears. If you test positive, you then have to have a pap smear, but you can take that off the same specimen.
It would be much better if they discover it much earlier, as early as possible.
You bet.
Then we would not lose hundreds of women a year. It's very bad statistics for the country, hundreds.
Yes, but it's something you can do about it. And your health department has taken up the challenge, which I find really encouraging.
What is the best way of, obviously, education? The people should understand what is this and why and may you have it and at which age one is. Everybody should go to this sort of test.
Yeah, usually we don't start testing until a woman's at least 25 years of age. The vaccine is given at about age 12 or 13, very early in high school. So our job is to educate doctors and nurses and school teachers and anybody that the parents might ask about the vaccine, so that everybody who should know knows all about HPV.
Well, I'm trying to have this understood, and this culture is existing in this country or created in the States. What is the most efficient way to do that? Okay, your teachers, you said just educating, but what else? Maybe, I don't know, maybe on TV, any advertisement, any health advertisement?
Yeah, you're going to need public education by TV and every social media, everywhere. But that said, Mongolia has quite a strong tradition in public health. You know, by international standards, it's quite respected because it does respond to public health concerns. Maybe not really quickly, but certainly in reasonable time. Yeah, better than most countries.
Do you find a particular other TSD in different countries in different ways?
Yeah. You get a different mixture of infections in different countries. A lot of it will relate to what your health system is like. If you have no health services, then some infections, gonorrhea, syphilis, will just be rampant. If you have a good health system, your biggest problem will probably be an infection called chlamydia, because it's the most subtle and the most common amongst young women.
What is the best program to people, young people in particular, understanding the gonorrhea, syphilis is something very serious, and it can be close everywhere. What is the best efficient program? What is the best cases in other countries?
Just having high quality health services. I'm going to try and look at some of your health services in the provinces this week. And well, you have specialists, which is a good thing, who know about STIs. Lots of countries don't have any specialists in the area of sexually transmitted infections.
I see more statistics saying that in some particular provinces, among young people, this TSD is becoming rather widespread. So, do you teach in Australia this sexual education in the schools?
We do. Yeah.
Which year and how you do that?
It's usually late primary school or early high school.
That would be what, 12 years old, 13?
Yeah, or younger. Yeah.
Or younger.
It's become compulsory.
Compulsory. What kind of classes would be there? Is it a textbook? Is it, because it's very sensitive, new issues for a teenager. Yeah. That first time some learning about that, the relations, etc., and how sensitive, how the society is accepting that.
They like it. The only problem with sex education is you really shouldn't base it around diseases. For kids, they're not so much worried about the diseases, they're more worried about relationships.
Yes.
That's their primary concern. And they want to know what is a healthy relationship and how do you establish one. We just sort of add on things like infections and contraception and so on.
It's just as a sub materials, right?
Because they're not the primary concern of kids.
So what you're saying is sexual education in primary school, late primary school, you go mostly about the relationships. And then, of course...
And respectful relationships.
Respectful relationship. And you have been in this field many years. Since this kind of lessons introduced, sexual education is introduced into schools. Can you say any changes compared with the time when it was not?
Oh yes, compared to 30 years ago, the kids in Australia now, they're far more aware. I don't know whether it's because they remember their classes from school or whether if they're worried they get on their phone and look it up. You know, I think most of them do some searching online before they ever go to the doctor. Most of them have almost diagnosed themselves by the time they arrive, if they have symptoms.
So now, again, this issue of telephone we have, internet, and now more sophisticated communications. At this age, what you would think of having better education, sex education among teenagers?
I think it's compulsory. The people who object to sex education in schools are the crazy people. You know, I think they go on the assumption if you don't tell kids about sex, they won't have it.
That's the wrong assumption, correct?
It's like saying if you don't tell kids about food, they won't eat. You know?
They would not eat, okay.
It's stupid. You know? The logic of it escapes me. You know, a lot of people say it's a religious issue. I don't think that's true. I don't see any Bible that says don't teach your kids about sex.
So it is much better to educate them about sex from the time when they start just to understand. And on the woman, that issue, every woman potentially may have this, and they should go and take a test. And that the new technology is most probably coming to Mongolia soon, right?
Over the next few years, I'm sure. Yeah.
Basil, what you do for Mongolia is important. And for any nation, it's important. I understand almost all Asian countries have, and here and there's the same story. But other than Asia, Europe, both America, North and South, have already that vaccinations and vaccinated all these populations. And hopefully Mongolia will do the same, and I'm waiting for the official report of that test in Mongolia, and thank you for being a part of it. You know, it's a great international cooperation that a country that solve the problem is helping other people. Thank you very much, Basil.
Thank you.
Thank you. За хүндэтгэгчтэй өнөөдөр манай дефакто нэвтрүүлгийн зочноор Австралийн UNSW гэдэг их сургуулийн Керти институт байдаг. Тэрний энэ Бэлгийн эрүүл мэндийн програмын дарга профессор Basil Donovan оролцлоо. Баярлалаа.